Assalamu alaikum. Greetings, everyone. Thank you for your presence today. Thank you for attending. I'd like to first introduce myself. I'm Dr. Gloria Bashir, and I will be your presenter today. And we will open with Al-Fatiha. And so let us begin. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyakan na'budu wa iyyakan nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Amin. And I'd like to also offer our greeting in English with Allah's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. All praise be to Allah, the cherisher and sustainer of the worlds, most gracious, most merciful, master of the day of judgment. Thee do we worship, and thine aid we seek. Show us the straight way, the way of those who have gone before us and those who go not astray. Ameen, ameen, ameen. So thank you and welcome, welcome, welcome. So we're going to start today's presentation. Well, first, I will give you a little bit of information about myself. I often am the moderator, but I am presenting today. I've presented other times as well. But I am part of the Talim committee, and our committee is chaired by Dr. Aisha El-Amin, and other members of the committee include Dr. Lionel Allen Jr. and Sister Rashida Fitzpatrick. And the four of us comprise this team. And our aim and goal is always to try to bring something interesting and hopefully informative to our YouTube channel, to our viewers, and to the Muslim believers who tune in to us. And so I am so pleased to be able to present. I first want to talk about that women's health is vitally important to me, not only as a female, as a woman, but as a healthcare practitioner as well. And so we will get started. I'm happy to take questions. Are there any, just wanting to make sure that everyone hears me, can I get, if there's any difficulty, please let me know. So to start, women's health awareness and strategies for self-advocacy is our topic today. And I hope to identify keys to healthy physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual health. And these are my personal goals, and I hope that this topic speaks to you today. And so we will get started. Awareness of health facts to enhance healthy practices. So my goal, my talk today is really geared toward women, but believe me, most of everything that I will present today applies to men. Because we're talking about healthy habits. We're talking about how to support not just your physical health, but your mental health, as well as your social health. Socialization, social connection are extremely important. And I think most of us became aware of that, particularly during the isolation and lockdown period of COVID. So we will start there. So with regard to your physical health, maintaining your annual wellness checks are critical. That's for all of us. You want to know your numbers. You want to know what your blood pressure is. You want to know what your cholesterol levels are, your cholesterol numbers, your glucose and A1C. It's important to know that information because this is what drives this should drive your behavior in terms of how you eat, how your activity level, and the things that you need to do to improve those numbers if there needs to be some improvement. Eating a plant-rich diet. And no, I am not saying to be a vegetarian, but we want to get all of the colors of the rainbow in our diet. Allah created this vegetation for us, and all of them are filled with so many nutrients, phytonutrients, antioxidants that are critical to sustaining our cellular health. And of course, being physically active. And what does that mean? That means something different for everyone because we're all at a different place in our physical bodies. And so what that means is, ideally, if you can get 30 minutes of activity a day or most days of the week. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to start jogging or you need to, train for some big, triathlon or something. It just means you need to move. And movement can mean simply walking, but walking with intention. And so that means that, you want to keep a steady pace. You need to get your heart rate up a little bit. It doesn't have to be, very high, but you want to get it up beyond your resting heart rate. And that's a question that I want to just, kind of throw out there. What is your resting heart rate? Well, that is, if you ever check your pulse, and you can, of course, Google this as well, but whatever your resting heart rate is, whether it's, 70 beats a minute, 80 beats a minute, whatever the case might be, you want it to get above that level so that your heart can be strengthened through your activity, okay? So now we're going to mental health. Mental health can impact your physical as well as your social health because it impacts how you manage your feelings, your emotions, your attitude, and all of that can lead to really maladaptive and unhealthy coping skills. That means holding on to anger and resentment, okay? Not allowing yourself to be a forgiving person, not, or worse yet, I should say, holding grudges, letting stress take over your life, not prioritizing yourself, and not in a selfish manner, but in a way so that you are able to be intentional in your life, okay? And your social health, your ability to adapt to change, new situations, establish and maintain friendships, and really create some balance in your life. Not overworking yourself and not, engaging in over engaging in social media or, too much television, creating some balance so that there's time for social interaction, social engagement. You have to have that. It's very critical for your mental health. But at the same time, you can't overindulge because again, that doesn't create balance. So these are just some of the ideas that I want you to take away from this portion of the talk. Physical health, what that means, mental health, as well as social health. Moving on to women's health facts. And men, brothers, this is important for you too, because you want to be able to support the woman in your life or the women in your lives. And that's your spouses, your mothers, your aunts, your sisters, your daughters. This is very, very important. But there's information here for you as well. So cardiovascular disease is often thought of as a man's disease. However, it is actually the #1 killer of women globally. That is big. That's very, very, very important that we all recognize. And that's why it's important to eat a healthy diet, to be active intentionally, to eat a varied diet, and to know your numbers. Breast cancer is a worldwide leading cause of death in women between the ages of 20 and 59. And 1 in 8 women are diagnosed with breast cancer. Most of us have been touched by breast cancer in one way or another, whether it's through ourselves, family members, close friends, the friends of our children. We've all been touched. And breast cancer, it's it's just such a sad and tragic disease. But we want to do all that we can to improve our breast health. And what that means is early detection and screening. Okay. So early detection really is through the screening process. So if there's a history of breast cancer in your family, and if you're a young woman, then you need to start getting screened earlier. If for those of us who are older, you should maintain your breast health exams. And that often includes doing self-exams. So just women, be aware of that. Be familiar with your own body. The third leading cause of death for women is stroke. And strokes are parts, that impacts, a stroke has an impact, or it really, pardon me, is part of that whole cardiovascular system. And I know that we've got Dr. Ramadan online, and this is something that as I conclude, he might want to chime in on, and I'm looking forward to your comments, Dr. Ramadan, if you're still here. But again, keeping your blood pressure under control, your blood sugars, your cholesterol, because all of this contributes to the possibility of a stroke incident. So be aware. Colon cancer is the third most common form of cancer. And this, of course, again, as I said, brothers, a lot of what I'm saying applies to you as well. So getting your colonoscopy, following up. A lot of times people get that first colonoscopy and then they don't go back. But you've got to keep following up, because colon cancer is actually a fairly slow growing cancer. And that's why you need to stay on top of it, making sure that you're getting your screenings. Women are predominantly the victims of all types of abuse, including physical abuse, emotional abuse, social abuse, sexual abuse, and economic abuse. So women, sisters, protect yourself. Take care of yourself. If you are in an abusive relationship, you've got to get out of that. And abuse includes emotional abuse, social abuse, being socially isolated if you're in a situation of that nature. And of course, sexual abuse and economic abuse, when you are not able to exercise the agency in your life over your over your finances. And our next point, 90% of cervical cancers are caused by long-lasting infections from HPV. That is that human papilloma virus. And that means, sisters, get your pap smears. Get your pap smears. If someone was infected with this virus years ago, and you've not been getting your pap smears, it can be just lying there waiting to cause a cancer. So please, women, get your pap smears. And our last point in this slide is 1 in 17 women will get lung cancer. And that includes those who are non-smokers. So sisters, if you are inhaling secondhand smoke, be aware that that affects your body. It affects your lungs. And if you experience respiratory problems, you should always seek medical advice. Okay, moving on to the next slide. So this slide actually comes from the World Health Organization, and it actually duplicates some of the things that were on the previous slide, but just gives you a little graphic here, okay? So first of all, every day, approximately 830 women die from preventable causes related to pregnancy and childbirth. And those numbers are really significant in the African American community, because we know that there are health disparities, health inequalities in this country, and that oftentimes African American women and other Black and Brown women do not have the access needed for appropriate medical care, particularly women of childbearing age. That's important. Non-communicable diseases are the biggest killers of women globally. And, it's just important to, again, follow up with your healthcare practitioner. And if you don't have a healthcare practitioner, then there's work to be done. There are, you can seek free clinics, and of course, try to get a medical card to provide so that you have some medical insurance. It may not be, the type of insurance that you want, but it will give you some coverage. Women represent a majority of people living with HIV, particularly young women ages 15 to 24. So sisters, mothers, aunts, talk to the young people in your life, your children, your grandchildren, your sisters. Because so many times women are exposed to disease unknowingly. So that means that there needs to be very serious conversations with the men in your lives. And yes, have those men get tested themselves before you engage in marriage or intimate relations with them. Globally, 1 in 3 women are likely to experience physical and/or sexual violence. And this has had a profound impact on, reproductive health and mental health for women. Unipolar depression is twice as common in women. Now, we've heard about bipolar disorder, but unipolar is just simply saying that this person is suffering from depression. And not bipolar, meaning that you have highs and lows. You primarily will experience more lows in terms of your mental and emotional health. So that touches on, again, the mental health component that I previously talked about, and how important it is to seek support, seek care. If you are struggling with your emotions, seek care. Therapy is very important. Therapy is extremely, extremely beneficial. It's an excellent intervention Because oftentimes we think that if I get therapy, if I seek support, that I'm weak, that I can't manage myself. And that is not the truth. Getting support means that you're actually very strong. So I'm going to move on to the next slide. And I hope that I'll have some good questions at the conclusion. Again, a few facts about women. 9 to 16% of women experience postpartum depression. And so it used to be referred to as, baby blues. This is, after you delivered, and, and it was just kind of minimized. But this is significant. And women, if you are having such a struggle such as this, you deserve support and you deserve help. 1 in 4 women require treatment for depression, compared to 1 in 10 men. Women, you carry a lot of burdens. You carry a lot of burdens, women. And sisters, you got to take care of yourself. So there's no shame in getting help. 1 in 75 women are at risk for ovarian cancer in their lifetime. And again, as stated previously, women are more susceptible to stroke. And stroke can kill, up to 60% of women who've been affected by stroke. Again, women's health. Take care of yourself. Next slide. So I have a lot of different slides, and some of them, again, repeating, because I think it bears repeating to really drive the point home, how important we are as women and how important it is that we take care of ourselves, because women often are the sacrificers in the family. And we have to really do a paradigm shift, and recognize that if we're not healthy, it's going to be hard for the rest of the family to be healthy, because we're the caregivers. So 7 health facts women need to know. I'm going to start here with activity. Resistance training is really important in preventing osteoporosis and protecting bone health. That's something we haven't touched on yet. You want to protect your bones as we age. There is some deterioration in our bone health as we age. That is a natural part of that hormonal process post-menopausally. Okay, so this really more so affects post-menopausal women. However, there are premenopausal women who are experiencing osteopenia and osteoporosis. Our bones are important. And so resistance training is critical to keep your bone health strong. Okay. Under nutrition, getting, adequate servings of fruit and green leafy vegetables, dairy if you are tolerant of dairy. If not, then dairy alternatives, because there's a lot of calcium, natural calcium, through nutrition. And that's what we need to help support our bones, in addition to physical activity and resistance training. Fibromyalgia. Many women are afflicted with fibromyalgia. This is a chronic condition that can cause really widespread fatigue and pain. And between 80 and 90% of all people diagnosed who get fibromyalgia are women. But don't let anyone make you think that this is in your head. Fibromyalgia is real. And one of the things that you can do to support yourself with fibromyalgia, and of course, always consult a healthcare practitioner, but something that you can do to be proactive, right, is to exercise, staying active, and pushing through the pain. I'm not saying push through unbearable pain, but push through. And on days when you can't really be as active as you like, give yourself grace. And you don't have to. But being active is very important to the management of fibromyalgia. Migraines and headaches. Women are 3 times more likely to suffer from migraines as men. And not all migraines are hormonal. Some are related to your diet. Some are related to your diet and your hydration. If your body is not well hydrated, you're going to have a greater incidence of all pain. Simple water, not tea, not coffee, not juice, water. One of the problems that women face is that women are more likely to ignore their symptoms, much more likely than men, because we are caregivers and we tend to put everyone first. So I am appealing to the brothers and the sisters on this presentation to know that women have to take care of themselves. Women have significantly higher risk of developing arthritis, particularly osteoarthritis. And women tend to get more severe osteoarthritis than men. And a lot of that is how we live, meaning, if we've lived and worn a lot of, bad fitting shoes or bad fitting boots or shoes and boots that are too high, very, very high heels, it actually puts your physical, your muscular skeletal, right? Your bones in, a very kind of dysfunctional position. And, but at the same time, we also have to stay strong. And if your muscles are strong, it supports your bones. And that's how we can help to address osteoarthritis. I'm going to move on to the next slide. So I want to say here that holistic wellness, which is, what I consider to be extremely important, that the whole body is really being looked at, okay? Because our body parts are not in isolation. Everything is connected. So holistic wellness is the value of one's physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual components. Again, we have to look at all components of ourselves, because that's how we become whole. The components of mental health are your cognitive, your emotional, and your behavioral health. And if you look at my graphic here, anxiety, feeling sad, suicidal thinking, sleep problems, feeling, just, very paranoid, anxious, mood changes, depression. We want to really take ownership of our own mental health, and we want to be able to thrive as we age. So with regard to cognitive health, identify your thoughts and recognize that thoughts are prone to error and bias and may not be a reflection of what is objective and what is truth. Okay? That's important. When we as women, because as we all as human beings, we all are emotional, and we're all plagued by the stresses of family life, the stresses of work, the stressors of obligation. And sometimes we don't really identify our real our thoughts, in a positive construct, because that's an important piece. Being positive, not being negative, not thinking of the glass as half full and not half empty, right? Being much more proactive. The next point is emotional health. Naming your emotions and gives you permission to feel that emotion and better understand your own feelings. Because sometimes, we are in a bad mood or just feeling out of sorts, but not really giving it a name. Give it a name so that you can better deal with how you're feeling, what your emotions are putting you through at that point in time. Very important to name how you feel. Oftentimes, surprisingly, people really have lots and lots of feelings that they have absolutely never really identified and never thought that, I'm feeling some kind of way around this person, but not identifying that, maybe I just kind of, I'm a little jealous of that person. Or maybe, I'm feeling some kind of way, as the young people say, because that person hurt my feelings and I never identified with that hurt. So that's an important concept to name your emotions. Our next point is behavioral health. How engaged are you within your relationships? And the extent to which you feel a sense of belonging and community. We all want to be a part of our families. We want to be a part of the community that we live in. But we have to make steps for that to happen. So we have to be proactive in that respect. How engaged are we going to be in these relationships? Are we just going to look at our relationships and just kind of, well, okay, that's my sister, whatever, she's always a drama queen or whatever the case may be. But we have to work at relationships. So that means that drama queen sister that we're going to have to reach out to sometime and say, hey, let's talk. Now, if your families are anything like mine, sometimes that doesn't quite work, but you still try. Because we all involved in our lives, and many of us have the same issues. And it has nothing to do, again, brothers, the same for you. Though men handle, things differently than women on an emotional level, and we all understand that. But we all have family. We all have family problems. And we just have to learn how to engage more. And understand when we know that we've reached our limit, and we have to then establish other ways to belong and to find community for ourselves. And I hope that makes sense. Moving on to the next slide. Do you actually engage in practices that enhance your mental and emotional well-being? That's a question for everyone. Do you really believe in self-love and self-care for yourself? Very important. Being mindful and expressing self-compassion, giving yourself grace, recognizing that you are worthy. So many times we never speak those words to ourselves. We give, we sacrifice, we keep pushing on, but we have to be mindful and engage in self-love, self-care, and self-compassion. And if you're able to start moving in that direction, that's going to move you in a direction of freedom from fear and anxiety. Fear and anxiety really impacts all of us. But to what extent? If we get bad news about a family member, we are anxious and fearful, right? But that's the time that you need to give yourself some grace. Engage in self-care. Take some time to do something kind for yourself so that you can be able to step back a little bit and handle whatever that bad news was. Because inevitably, we all are going to deal with bad news, right? Whether it's family, friends, you know, people who are very, very, very near and dear to us, we all will deal with that. We will all will experience that, but how we deal with it is what I'm hoping that I can get across today. And with that in mind, I have a few habits of women who practice self-advocacy and wellness, okay? And just a few suggestions and recommendations so that we're able to better take care of ourselves. And again, brothers, this really applies to you too, though it's directed at women, but it's really for all of us. It's for all of us and for all of our families. So first, she makes time for herself. That is not a selfish act. She makes time for herself. We all need time to connect to our own feelings and emotions. We all need time to rest. We all need time to just take a pause and assess where we are, right? Emotionally, physically. She has a spiritual connection. And I'm sure all of you can get this, can understand it. Understanding the love of Allah, understanding your connection to Allah, I hope is your priority. She is informed about her healthcare needs and follows through. That's an important point. Because being informed is one thing, but if you fail to follow through, you're not making any forward steps, right? You're not making any progress. And, you know, everybody deals with this. So we all have to get better about it. We all have to get better about it. If you are sick, if you're feeling ill beyond a few days, go to see a healthcare practitioner because we want to make sure that we rule out, you know, if there's anything serious going on. My oldest daughter, her immune system seems to be a little out of whack, and she seems to be catching something, every other week. She's got something, a sore throat, a cold, something, pink eye. And, I often told her, you have to really work on your immune system. You really need to eat, much more balanced. She tries to eat healthy, but oftentimes she leaves out a lot of food groups, you know, thinking that that's healthy. And I'm not saying it's not, because sometimes you do need to kind of omit a few food groups, but we still need to have a balanced diet. And so she had a really, really bad sore throat that was plaguing her for several days. And I finally got her to go and get a throat culture. And she did. And it wasn't strep throat. So I was grateful for that. And it started to clear up. But, I felt that she waited a little too long because it had been going on about 4 days. And it's like, no, you don't want to, first of all, you don't need to suffer unnecessarily, but you don't want things to go on for more than a few days without having to check out. Okay. Our next point is making sleep and downtime a priority. Sleep health or sleep hygiene is really important. Making sure that you're getting in proper sleep. Sleep is when your body actually, starts to self-repair. It's during sleep time. So you want to get a good night's sleep. And we all stay up too late every once in a while. Well, I do sometimes, and I'm working on it. But, we have to prioritize our sleep. She does regular exercise, meditation, mindfulness work, and breath work. So we talked about exercise earlier in this discussion, and meditation. Everyone kind of, people have different ideas about meditation, and that's something that you need to explore for yourself. Mindfulness work, being intentional about what you do. Um, often you can do very simple things. It doesn't have to be something that requires hours and hours of your time, but being consistent is the key. And breath work, deep breathing, breath exercises are very, 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 very important with helping to stabilize our emotional response. Just doing deep breathing in, inhaling to the count of 4, hold for the count of 4, exhale to the count of 4, hold for the count of 4. That's called box breathing. That's just one simple technique to calm things down, right? A lot of times we're feeling anxious and excitable, blood pressure goes up. All of that helps to bring it down, right? Helps to calm your nervous system down, your parasympathetic nervous system. She eats a variety of foods. I've talked a little about that. She has a strong support system. Now, I know that's easier said than done, but being able to reach out to your family members, reach out to your friends, and, feeling that support there is very important for your overall wellness. She practices gratitude and forgiveness. I talked a little bit about that earlier. Those who are angry and holding grudges, that's going to be the person who's going to be more prone to, feeling, catching a virus or feeling ill, because all of that impacts your mental health, and that impacts your physical health and your immune system. I have a repeat here. I meant to take that out. Meditation, mindfulness, practices, and yoga poses and stretches. Very relaxing. It again helps to calm your parasympathetic nervous system down. That anxiety will go down. The sense of nervousness will go down. So those are important. These are all, I hope, important practices that you will consider to incorporate into your life. So that really concludes this portion of my talk. I do want to just spend another couple seconds before taking a few questions on acknowledging that the International Women's Day was on March 8th. That was Friday. And so in honor of the International Women's Day and Women's History Month, that was my inspiration for wanting to do this particular talk. And I'm hoping that we will all take the time to kind of bask in the glory of being a woman, and how wonderful that, being a woman is just a wonderful thing, though we know it's a lot of work. But I hope that we can all be able to acknowledge the women in our lives and just really be appreciative. And so with that, I do want to acknowledge a couple of historical women that I'm hoping that all of us, men and women, we can all identify with, and just take some joy there. So the first person I want to speak about is a historical figure, Sister Baraka, who was a young Abyssinian girl who became the caregiver to Prophet Muhammad, may peace and blessings be upon him, and was the very first person to hold him when he was born. She was his constant companion. And when the Prophet's mother, peace and blessings be upon Prophet Muhammad, and his mother Amina, when she became ill and subsequently died, Baraka became his surrogate mother. And as instructed by Sister Amina, she says, and this is a quote from a book, "Be a mother to him, Baraka, and never leave his side." Baraka remained close to Prophet Muhammad from birth throughout his life till death. And her devotion to Islam was strong and unshakable. So that's a beautiful story. And I want to pay homage to the mother of our community, dear Sister Clara Muhammad. She was the wife of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and was the role model for Muslim sisters in the very early years of the Nation of Islam and during the evolution of our community, now under the teachings of Imam W.D. Muhammad. May Allah be pleased with him. And there's also a brand new facility that's just opened in the DC area, named in honor of Sister Clara Muhammad, named the Clara. And this is I think it's about a $45 million project that was built, that's going to house retail and house, I believe it's going to have some residential housing, I believe, I'm not certain of that. And this project is going to serve believers in our community. So those are the two sisters that I want you to think about when you think about International Women's Day and when you think about Women's History Month. So that is conclusion of my presentation. So I'm open to taking questions. Let's see here. Let me see. Okay. All right. I'm open to taking questions. I have a couple of things in the chat here. Oh, Sister Hakima, I definitely believe that self-care is important. However, I feel that I simply don't prioritize. It's all too common as mothers and wives to put others ahead of ourselves. Yes, yes, and yes. This is another comment from Sister Latifa Wangara. Sisters are also educators and doing homeschooling. Well, that's, yes, very much so, yes. Let's see. Are there any questions or comments at all? I see some very familiar faces on. Dr. Ramadan, not to put you on the spot, but just wanted to know if you had any comments or any things to add in terms of women's health and women advocating for themselves.
Yes, thank you so much for inviting me to speak. I was just I want to congratulate you on such a well-balanced and beautiful and insightful presentation. Some things that really struck me. And you mentioned that as women, you carry such an additional burden, and I never looked at it like that. And when you brought out so many things that the brothers have, but the sisters have more of a weight to carry, and that impressed me. And and so many of the physical and emotional and commitment that they have to the family. It's it's like the burden stops right there with women. And I think it's just fantastic that we have these uh, days to acknowledge women's health and the role that women play in our lives. And I just want to commend you. I was very impressed, and I wanted at different points I want to take that deeper, sister. Take that deeper. You are touching well, and so many things I hadn't thought of that you pointed out. So my comments are just general, but I think it was a great job, and thank you so much. Alhamdulillah.
Thank you, thank you. Yes, we only have an hour, so it's hard to get into a more depth, but I appreciate your comments. Thank you so very much. Let's see, we have Sister Claire Muhammad was a homeschool advocate. Yes. That was from Sister Latifa. Reverend Mama Joy. This presentation is very valuable, Sister Gloria, and your pace is admirable so that more understanding can be gained. Thank you for being divinely inspired to carefully prepare for this community. You brought a blessing for us. Most grateful. Oh, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, and that this is a universal message. Thank you. I agree. I think it's so important that we talk about women and with the contribution that women make and have made and will always make as long as we are on this earth. So thank you for that. Let's see, any other questions or comments before we close out?
Assalamu alaikum.
Yes.
I have a real quick question. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I remember you said, first of all, thank you for this presentation. And I have so many mothers in this community and sisters and people like you, Dr. Gloria. I mean,
Thank you.
I don't know what my life would be like without the mothers and the sisters and all of my nieces and just my family community. That y'all just do so much and it means so much to all of us. And I don't know what we would do without you all. But I remember that you told me that, you know, you got up and you ran like three miles in the morning, or you walked 3 miles in the morning. And one of the things that I've kind of like had difficulty with is getting a regimen of like that prayer and that meditation and that deep breathing and that making time for yourself. Like, do you incorporate all of that? How do you kind of like incorporate that? Do you take a special time in that morning, or how do you do it? What's the best template?
That's a great question, because I am happy to share. So what I do is I actually kind of schedule things out a little bit, because I operate better if I've kind of, concretize things and put it in the schedule. So I generally try to start my morning with some self-care, meditation. I practice Reiki, so I'll do some Reiki. I don't do all of that, but I'm kind of picking and choosing what I feel that I need that day. Okay. And I'll take some time and go through my emails and things just to kind of get caught up, or a little caught up, I should say. And and I'll spend as much time as I feel that I need. Of course, everybody's schedule is different, so you have to base this on whether mornings work for you or evenings work for you. I'm more of a morning person as far as these kind of things are concerned. And then I start my day with a 3.5 mile walk. And I don't run. These old bones won't allow that. But I do walk, and I do that most days of the week. Probably 6 out of 7 days, sometimes 7 out of 7 days. It's not a race that I'm doing. It is truly a marathon, right? I walk, and most times I actually walk through my home. So that means up and down my stairs. It's, I've created my own little circuit training, if you will. But if you go to a gym, go to the gym. The weather is going to be getting warmer, so I can then take my walk outside. But being in the house does not stop you from exercising.
Right.
And now, can it get a little, kind of mundane? Yeah. So that's when I entertain myself, and I'll put my headphones on. I'll listen to books on tape while I'm walking. I might listen to, Islamic material. I might listen to music. I may catch up on business. But what I'm doing is I'm trying to multitask, if you will. So while I'm walking, and I'm walking with intention. I'm keeping up a fast pace so that I can bring my heart rate up. I may put in some arm movements. I may dance a little, but this is all what I do to get to that 3.5 miles.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You are so
awesome
welcome.
presentation. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Hi, Salaam alaikum, Sister Gloria.
Yes, well,
you're right. One of the things that really that struck me was the time that you took on behavior health, and how important it is for us to give ourselves permission to feel. I have friends, particularly those on the police department.
Yes.
And they all, well, I'd say 3 or 4 of them. I don't know that many. But one of the things, they teach them to just suck it up. Suck it up. And as a result of them sucking it up, they have difficulties just dealing in general, having good relationships with people outside the force, because I couldn't understand that. But you have to give yourself permission to feel. And that is what I really liked. I said, yeah, Joy, I have to do that too, because as descendants of slaves, that's part of a tradition that we have of sucking it up. And
yes.
Then you said fear and anxiety. I thought that was important, and how that connects with that, because if you're sucking it up, it's a behavior and a habit that you're not even cognizant of, okay?
Totally.
And then fear and anxiety will keep you in bondage. I want to thank you particularly for that, because it makes me accountable for my own thought life. And that can affect your whole life and your health. Thank you so much. I just love you. I appreciated this so much. Thank you.
Oh, you are so welcome. I appreciate you because I sincerely believe that in my life. And you are right about the law enforcement. You know, their training is very, very contradictory to real life existence. And it creates a very stoic, a very, kind of non feeling approach to things. And I think we've all been able to understand, especially with watching a lot of things that went on during COVID lockdown with George Floyd, and that callousness is so very unhealthy too, because you then take it home, because it doesn't just stop on the streets, right? You then bring it home, and now you're going to be that way with your mate. You're going to be that way with your children. So yes,
a great amount of domestic violence occurs with police officers and their spouses. Absolutely. And you are absolutely right on that. Thank you.
You are so welcome. You are so welcome. You are so welcome.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Thank you so very much for the presentation. You touched on a lot of things that we as sisters need to deal with, especially self-help, giving yourself permission to relax and rest. Because we often will keep plugging along and know we need it and won't stop and take it. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. You are welcome. You are welcome. And you are right. We have to take that time and give ourselves grace. Yes.
My husband tells me that all the time.
There you go.
I don't see no S on your chest. Go somewhere and sit down.
That's right. That's right. As I said in the talk, this was is aimed at the sisters, but it's for the brothers too, right?
Yes, well, that's right. That's right.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome. You are welcome. There's a comment here, and thank you, Sister Hakima, for this. It says, thank you, Dr. Gloria. Excellent presentation. It was very timely, especially with Ramadan coming up. Woohoo! And it's really time to pull it all together, the body, the mind, the heart, the spirit. Yes. And I definitely want to speak to that, because this is our last talk before Ramadan, because the imams will, I will still be here, but the imams will be leading talks for the duration of this month and getting us to Ramadan. So yes. Ramadan is a place, it's a time of healing and grace, right? And that is the mercy and grace from Allah, right? So we're going to take that. All right. Before we close out, any other questions or comments? All right. Well, thank you all so very much. I appreciate it. I see lots of friends on, and I appreciate that. All right. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Yes. Alaikum assalam.
Very good job, Doctor.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. And yes, and
thanks, Gloria.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Ramadan Mubarak, everyone.
Ramadan